Good evening and welcome. I'm Sheila Balgobin and I am the Dream Decipherer, and I help you to crack the code of your sleep and dreams so you can sleep sound and dream deep. Now, this evening's dream is in three parts and there's a lot going on in it. It took me a while to kind of work things out. But as a client reminded me, it's not what I think, it's what the client thinks about the dream. So let's get right into it. It's about, among other things, protective devices. Let's see what's going on here. In the first uh, part of this three-part dream, the dreamer reports that there was some kind of phenomenon that was happening that was wiping out the population, I assume around the world, everywhere, and everyone was on lockdown. Now, the dreamer then reports that they had been given some kind of special experimental technology device to protect himself against this phenomenon, whatever it was, which consisted of a small briefcase with a shrine inside of it. The dreamer's wife and two friends, two female friends, had also been given each one of these devices as well. One of the friends tested it uh, for the first time to see how it worked and took it outside. And when this phenomenon, whatever it was that hit, um, it was described as being a like a tornado with fog surrounding the person, and that it was necessary to hold tightly to this briefcase. So the friend tested it. Apparently, it worked. Even though she nearly got blown away, but she didn't. She held on to this briefcase. And then the others decided that okay, it works. We're going to, start using them as well. The dreamer then reports that another of the friends, needed to fetch her device in one place, and the dreamer had to go back to their old school, into the gym to be able to find his own device. And apparently descending some stairs of this school building, which had been painted like in camouflage colors, orange and green, apparently. Once the dreamer got inside the gym where his device was located, the he couldn't get down the stairs. They weren't passable for whatever reason. So he had to climb down using a ladder back to the ground level, and was so scared and nearly shitting bricks, apparently. He couldn't move. He was stuck. But one of the friends, who was a fellow martial artist, actually helped him and encouraged him and talked him down from this place that he was stuck in. And there ends the first part of the dream. Like I said, there's a lot going on, so it's taking me a while to get through it all. In the second part of this dream, the dreamer reports being at a party and where he met up with someone he hadn't seen since primary school, and they were having a conversation, and a young woman, perhaps the friend's daughter, advised the dreamer that the friend's mother had died. um, and the dream ends there, very short. The third dream is just as short. The dreamer reports being in a railway tavern, or bar, organizing a farewell drinks for some of his former colleagues, um, at a job that he was or currently at. And the dream finishes there. So, like I said, there was a lot going on, and it took me a while to work my way through the different threads and things. And I hope the dreamer makes makes sense of some of the comments that I'm going to be presenting. But let's break each dream down and see what's going on. In the first dream, there's this unknown phenomenon, and it sounds a bit like a COVID-esque in nature, or some other kind of pandemic that's affecting everyone everywhere, and wiping out populations, whole populations. And at the moment, there's this huge debate about jabs and yet more jabs, and is it really effective and all of that. And I wonder if that may have filtered into this dream somehow. There's also a debate going on at the moment as to whether our the populations around the world are being marched into kind of like this subjugation, because of all these COVID restrictions. You can't travel, you can't do this, you can't do that, etc. But this experimental technology to me appeared to actually to be ancient technology. This was a little box or briefcase with a shrine in it. Now, to me, a shrine indicates some kind of altar or religious place in some way. And so it's not so much new technology, it's old technology, the oldest technology in the world, in fact, called prayer. And it a saying by Benjamin Franklin came to me when I read this, and it says, when life knocks you to your knees, it's the perfect position in which to pray. And there's seems to be some kind of implication here that prayer or some kind of sacred ritual or place is an effective deterrent or protection from this unknown phenomenon that was attacking people. The interesting thing about that is that this device is portable and seems to be uh, able to be used anytime, anywhere, but is particularly effective when this phenomenon occurs. The other thing that struck me about this device is that it only seems to be available to a privileged few, and in this case, just 4 people: the dreamer, the dreamer's wife, and 2 female friends. Excuse me. Now, one of the friends actually tested this device, and it was in real time. I mean, when this phenomenon hit, which threatened to sweep her away, it was only by holding tightly to this device that she was able to withstand this tornado like force. And if you've ever seen houses exploding because of tornadoes, that's a hell of a lot of force. So this must be some serious technology to be able to withstand a storm like that. But what struck me about this is that the dreamer only used this device after someone else had tried it. And the expression came to me of somebody who's walking by sight rather than by faith, which kind of contradicts the use of a shrine or a going to a shrine, where you're walking by faith and not by sight. Now, the dreamer had to go back to his old school to pick up his own device. And there's something here about going back to past environments, past memories, and or picking up of old behaviors and places, and maybe doing things old school style. And if we look at this in the context of that, this device was actually a connection to spirit in some way, i.e., prayer. It seems that maybe this is something, a tie to the dreamer's past in some way, and perhaps may be considered old fashioned or passe by others, or perhaps the dreamer himself. What struck me about this is that the dreamer had to descend some stairs to be able to get this device. And these stairs were camouflaged or hidden in some way. They weren't appearing in their normal way. And there's something about going from a higher place to a lower one, and maybe that represents going, coming out of one's head and getting into one's soul, into one's spirit, to a secret or more hidden part of the dreamer. This ladder again, there's another descent being shown, going down yet another level than previously. And though the dreamer was frightened about just going down this ladder, like I said, he was, about to shit bricks over it. A friend and a fellow martial artist, one of these female friends, was actually able to talk him down and give support and encouragement to get him down this tall ladder down to ground level. And my question here for the dreamer was, is there an area of the dreamer's life that is somehow hidden or camouflaged in some way and buried deep? So deep that you have to go down several levels to get to it. But there's, on the other hand, is there something else that the dreamer needed to recover that was deep inside in order to be able to protect the dreamer in some way? The image that came to me, or the thought that came to me with this, was Jacob's ladder in the Bible, where you have angels ascending and descending from heaven on a ladder. And I just wonder if the dreamer is reaching down from a higher level or higher perspective to a lower one, and one that is hidden, one that is deeper. And what does that mean for the dreamer? So we'll leave that first dream at the moment. And let me tell you, there's a lot more that could have been pulled out of that, but we're going to stop there and move on to the second part of the dream. The dreamer reports that he was at a party where he met up with an old friend from who he hadn't seen since primary school, and where the dreamers then reports that someone, a young woman, perhaps the friend's daughter, informs him that the friend's mother had passed away. Now, there was a couple of threads here, but my question here for the dreamer would be, what does this friend represent? Um, is the daughter actually known to the dreamer, whether in the dream or in waking hours? And why is it that the daughter gives this information if the dreamer was speaking to the friend? Why wouldn't the friend have announced that this has happened? Um, and again, there seems to be something about reconnecting with a lost or hidden or forgotten part of the dreamer's life. And I would ask the dreamer here, how does that actually feel to reconnect to the past in this way? So we'll leave that for the moment, because there wasn't too much more I could pull out of that, and move on to the third dream, where the dreamer's in a railway bar. So it's in a bar that's in or near a train station, and he's organized a farewell party for some colleagues, former colleagues. It's interesting that this to me anyway, that this took place near a train station or in a train station. It's as if the dreamer was ready to leave on a journey, perhaps, taking off to parts unknown. And my thoughts about this was that, is this an indication perhaps that the dreamer is moving away from old friends, old colleagues, or maybe even old ways of thinking and doing things? And how does this actually feel to the dreamer? Does it make the dreamer happy? Does it make them sad? They could care less. Um, it, it seems to me that perhaps it's a way of being that may be coming to an end before departing to a new destination on a new journey. So those are the three parts of the dreams. But what was interesting to me was to see how all of these three dreams tied together, because the whenever dreams are dreamt in close proximity to each other, either in the same night or within a few days of each other, they're usually connected in some way. So, and try to find what the connections may possibly be. For me, there seems to be a revisiting of the past, with the old, literally, in the case of Dream One, being swept away by some no, excuse me, sorry, by some unknown or unnamed phenomenon. And my question here for the dreamers are, what changes could be happening currently in the dreamer's life that requires perhaps revisiting the past, going in within to the lower depths of oneself, and reemerging perhaps to a new situation or environment? The next thing I would highlight is these helper females. In two of the dreams, it is the women who take the lead and show the dreamer the way, giving support and taking charge where when the dreamer is unable to act or move on his own. And again, this could be this feminine energy, could be representative of the dreamer's anima, or animas in this case, because there were several. But the inner female represents connection and emotion. And I wonder here if they're pointing the way for the dreamer with regards to their feelings about something, about some aspect of their life. Then, and that leads me to the next thought that I had about these dreams, is that there seems to be a fetching and releasing of the past at the same time. There's a return to the past, going back to old school, meeting old friends, saying goodbye to ex colleagues. So there's something about letting go and moving on, but yet in moving forward, the dreamer has to look back, and look within to uh, gain some kind of wisdom or knowledge, and perhaps say good, either incorporate it or get rid of it. And my question here for the dreamer is, could the dreamer be going within, or experiencing some kind of internal change, which allows the dreamer to not only take back from the past what was needed, but letting go of the rest? There's something there about holding on to something but letting go at the same time. And finally, there seems to be an indications of movement, movement that may be halted in some cases, but or hasn't happened yet, but movement into the future. You have this experimental kit that seems quite futuristic, even though it doesn't. But it represents movement away from the past, and this tornado like thing literally sweeping things away in its wake. But there's movement from away from old friends, even though they're being reconnected with. There's a return to an old school. There's the death of a friend's mother, and there's the hanging out at this railway station bar, which implies that there's travel to be undertaken to some kind of destination. And my question here for the dreamer is whether there is an area of the dreamer's life that is dying or in the process of being left behind. And what are the dreamer's feelings about that? So there you have it. Like I said, there's a lot going on in in these three dreams, but I hope that I've been able to tap into some of what was essential for the dreamer to capture. And I guess with a bit more digging and going within and going down deep within, it'll become clear. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Have a great evening and rest of the week, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.